Yep. Or
So the first things first is we have a release queued up. So this is the production version of our headless application running here. And you'll see that there are issues with it. And obviously it doesn't have published content. So over in Zesty, which I will share on the big screen, we have a release app which has been soft released. And we're going to have a queued up release, and this is called the website redesign launch, which has 276 changes, which does not look happy with me. Giselle, have you, how did this go? Is this loading on your screen?
Test.
Let's see. Yeah, let me know if release is loading on your screen.
If you go, yep, it's loading on my screen.
I'm having an issue loading on my end, so I'll probably just need you to publish the release.
No problem. Would you like me to publish that now?
Yeah, go ahead and publish that now.
All right, just a second.
And just let me know when it's confirmed.
All right.
It's quite a few
Getting
items to
published.
publish. So it's 276 items.
That's right. All right, we're publishing. All looking good so far. Just going down the list now.
And it's the current live website, just running straight up Parsley. Getting a 500 error from the server, which is strange. Okay, so we're seeing this load. Let's check our build history, see if there's anything happening. Alright, so looks like Giselle, is the publish process complete?
It is complete. I got one error and I'm just going to check on that.
Cool, check on that error and let me know. It's looking like the website is updating. For some reason our production build though is having an issue. There we go. I think there's some caching that's happening too from Cloud Run. It's something we'll need to look into. So This, what we're doing is we're deploying a NextJS application, and we have an automatic build process. So this is a public repository. You can look on Zesty at GitHub, and the name of the repository is NextJS website. So this is our marketing website. It is available on GitHub. I will post it in chat real quick. And how we configured this is that we have a branch main, which will probably be renamed to stage soon, but we're still using main. And we have a branch production. So the team makes PR requests, pull requests into main for a testing stage. And then once it's in main or stage, it can then PR to production. And there's two different builds running simultaneously. And we deploy the Cloud Run. And when it detects the branch change, it automatically runs a build process and redeploys the container in the Next.js application. What we're seeing here is the direct Cloud Run URL, which it deploys to. And you'll notice that this one's called Zesty-website with some hash that comes from Cloud Run. And this one is Zesty website production with some hash that runs the Cloud Run. So the target that we want for production is this URL, the Zesty production. And I'm just going to click around this before we make the switch. And if you guys notice, if you're watching the stream for the Zesty team, it loads so much faster with the production configuration. So this is Next.js responding. And we notice Next.js building live rendered pages is a little bit slower, but Zesty will fix that by caching the page globally once it renders the first time, and we'll experience that. But just kind of clicking around just to make sure everything feels right before we pull the trigger and make the full switch. And over here you see this is my production YAML build. This is what's used, and this is auto-generated for you by Google, and then you can pull it down and bring it into your project to like fine-tune. And nothing is sensitive in this. It's all just kind of information for deployment. It's my console running over here when I run the app locally. So everything is looking good on the production side. So now, since we're going headless and we're proxying it through, we're still going to use Web Engine. And how we're doing that is we're setting up, Web Engine has the option to run these proxy URLs. So if Web Engine is able to check that, detect if it's building a page and resolve that page. So this is how we're going to pipe Next.js through Web Engine. That way we can leverage Web Engine redirects and just kind of the auto resolution that Web Engine brings, leverage global live caching and a whole number of other features. So, all right, guys, we're going to hit save now. And once that's saved, we will need to clear the cache. So it is now loading. This is the old home page of Zesty.io. And we're going to blow the cache away. And fingers crossed. There it is. We're now live. So, all right. You guys can unmute too. So we do have a full chat behind us in this mix. You can see them here. Here we are. You guys are in the mix. I don't know why I didn't share you guys in the beginning. But yeah, there's the chat. There's the team that put it together. So let's just click around and, well, first of all, let's see how fast this loads now. So you guys, why don't you guys, or I'll post the URL in chat.
Looking good. It's loading on my end.
Yeah. So you can see how fast the response time is once it gets set up, right? It's like almost instant. But the initial build from Next.js takes a little bit of time. But now you can kind of click through and just see. Yeah, so these pages are loading pretty quick now. Yeah, you kind of click around and you can see the response rates. Let's see what kind of response rates we're getting on that. It's still taking, it's definitely a little bit slower than, quite a bit slower than regular Zesty, but we're still dealing with it's like a 1 second response time, which I think we can optimize based upon how the server and like the Next.js configuration. but that's it piping through. So at this point, I'm going to introduce like the team. So what we did, we ended up building this whole entire website, and it was under a month. I want to say it was like probably like 2 hard weeks of development time, a whole week of QA, and we had, is it 9 people involved in the project? Does that sound about right? I'd say 9 full
Yeah.
timers, which included how many developers? One, so myself, Giselle, Bobby, Dave. So like 4 full-time developers. Stephanie got in the mix a little bit. It's like a part-time developer. So say 4 full-time, and this is like React website developers. And I'm gonna pull open the GitHub of it here. So this again, open source repository. I'll paste the link in chat. Um, and I'm gonna look at insights just to show you how much effort went into this. So we can go back to 1 full month and we can see, 10,763 additions. It's quite a bit. And 60,000 deletions. So we ended up buying a material UI template to like help us with design and structure and all that. So that's us deleting a lot of like the template code we didn't use. But you can see 129 pull requests and 6 people, I guess 6 active developers were involved. And Darwin, I forgot to mention Darwin if he's here. I don't think he is. It might be way past his bedtime because he's another part of the world. But yeah, so we had 5 full-time developers. Take that back. So 5 full-time developers in about 3 weeks built this whole entire website in React, and I got it all piped up and connected. Um, so yeah, just clicking through here, you can see the contributions made by people. It's cool when you run GitHub, you can kind of see the activity that goes out. So I'd say it was probably less. It was a lot more like fixing up in the last week than it was like hardcore just building straight up. I don't know what these charts actually mean, but they're cool to look at. um, but yeah, network graph, forks, people. So you can see the action there. So I'm gonna walk through the code base a little bit and just talk through some of the decisions that we made. I'm going to pull the team over here, and then I'm going to bring in people from the team to kind of talk about things a little bit. So again, all this code is on GitHub, and you can see how we did it. But it is obviously an npm NextJS build, and it's just pretty standard, nothing too fancy. It is using the Zesty integration, and that's done by editing your Next.js config, and it uses a couple API files that we auto build. So we have this API file that really smartly connects Zesty data into Next.js with very minimal amounts of coding. So this is also, if you want to start your own Zesty site, you can check it out at, we have a Next.js starter app, which is a one-liner that gets started, and I will also post that in chat. There's the Next.js starter for Zesty. And basically what that does, it starts a base Next.js application. It starts pretty empty, but then it auto syncs with Zesty. So whatever you have built for content models, it's able to know all the URLs and automatically resolve all the content on page. And the content models create files underneath views Zesty. And if we look at the home page, for example, our home page will automatically resolve to this component. And then you just edit inside of this component, and you know what you have access to. So that being said, I want to bring the team in just to discuss a little bit of the build process. And Katie, I'm going to put you on the spot first. So Katie in the mix. So Kate, so Katie, you've been involved in quite a few website builds. What type of technologies have you used in those website builds?
Yeah, in the past, I've been involved in websites mainly built on WordPress. Obviously, sites that are not headless and pretty primitive in terms of the types of things that you can do with them. So, for everyone's background, I'm the senior marketing manager at Zesty. So, I am not a technical user, and it's been really fun to get to see how we built out this website.
Yeah, so Katie, of what has been like your average build time for a website have you seen?
I mean, in the past, for corporate websites, it's been months and months. Um, I've never been able to stand up a website in 3 weeks.
Do you think it helped having, say 5 full-time developers on the project, or is that what you're used to having? Or tell us about that. What type of resources have you had access to in the past?
Yeah, in the past, we have had developers in house, but I don't think I've ever worked with such a um, robust team that we can knock out things very quickly and communicate with them constantly to get little bugs fixed or build out things to my vision because obviously as a marketer I have a very specific vision of how I want things and our team was really great in helping me put that to life.
Awesome. So, so yeah, it was a quicker build, but did you had it seems like more competent developers, as you said, um, but yeah, that's cool to hear. So, do you feel like this? I don't know. Tell me about what you thought was great about the process and what you felt like could have been improved.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that overall it was a very, bootstraps kind of project, getting something off the ground from, my vision of content and how I wanted the pages to look to actually getting them all to function and work together and having, those workflows that we want, having users come onto the website and have a good experience. Um, that was a very positive experience overall, getting to build that out. I think, with the Zesty platform, being able to develop this headlessly, but also be able to preview it and actually build out the dev site and, be able to fix things as we worked was really great. I think in terms of improvements, it's just, how do we make this go faster in the future and build out more pages more seamlessly.
Yeah, we talked about a couple things, like with the GitHub issues. We use
Mm-hmm.
sprints behind the scenes, so we have a sprint management software. But then we started using GitHub issues, and we've invited you to that process, right? So
Mm-hmm.
um, tell me what you thought about GitHub issues and that process versus how it was done before.
Yeah, I actually thought it was a very positive thing to add that to our workflows. I mean, I think there's always that stereotype that marketers and developers kind of speak a different language. But being able to be on a site that worked for our developers that helped them track, what the issues were instead of me just being like, messaging them on Slack and asking them to update something, it worked better for me because I was able to track, how are things progressing as we build out this website. And then also it was kind of something that our developers were familiar with and that they really appreciated being able to work with, I think. So I think that was a positive, and I hope we continue using that going forward. It seemed like it worked well on your guys' side too. So.
Yeah, it definitely does because it when we write code, it can interconnect to our code. So it
Mm-hmm.
just integrated right into the development process, which is kind of it's autonomous from the CMS. Even though it's using the
Mm-hmm.
CMS, there's a lot of autonomy there. Cool. Well, thanks, Katie. And
Thank you.
I'm gonna pull David up next because David is a front end product engineer on the Zesty team, and we had some trouble launching, getting the website going. We tried some different avenues. We tried working with some agencies. Ultimately, we just needed, you know, we we sell this product. It's awesome. We build it, and we needed to do it ourselves. So we brought David over from the product team to help work on the website. And David, you're a React developer, right? So, and this is built in React, but it's using Next.js. So tell me, I don't know, your experience between, say, hitting a REST API from, you know, a React application versus working, say, with Zesty's content inside of Next.js. Like, tell me about the differences there. And
Yeah, it's been super fun. I'm like Randy said, I'm a front end developer, so I don't know too much about connecting to databases. So working within Zesty's schemas and building out the API that way was absolutely an ease and awesome to connect. Uh, it was just super cool to see how powerful it is and how fast we can get stuff showing up.
so the difference between, let's say, like building inside of an application versus building, say, a website, what do you feel like the construction difference was, like within the context of like React and Next?
It seemed pretty smooth. Just pop in a fetch and grab your data and able to get a site up and running.
Yeah.
So seems a lot easier.
Yeah, so like the page resolution, like URLs, like routing, like you didn't have to do any of that, right? All that's just there.
Yep, magic.
Did that feel weird compared to like working inside of a regular application, React application?
Yeah, you just ran your script and stuff was magically connected and linkable to other pages.
Yeah, so did it feel like you're working inside an app, or did it feel different, like I guess?
Um, yeah, the workflow was similar to other processes, but definitely enjoyed building out in Next.js.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff behind the scenes there made it easy.
Yeah, I know that I've heard some developers are kind of exclusively using Next.js. So when they launch a project, they're using Next.js instead of React, like the Start React app, which is kind of interesting to hear the different workflows. I definitely like the page resolution. It helps to have like routing connected to files. I like that a lot. It's just different flow, but it did not feel like I was working in like the Zesty manager whatsoever. It felt like two very foreign environments compared to each other.
Right.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, David. Next up, I'm going to pull Stephanie. So, Stephanie, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, working on the sales team at Zesty, but also can kind of dip my toe into the technical side sometimes.
So, we had you build out one of the pages, the contact page, and
Mhm.
you worked quite a bit inside, like using just only Zesty templating and Zesty and Parsley within Zesty. So, this not it, how did you feel the difference between working, say, inside the React GitHub workflow versus working inside of Zesty?
This was my first project using Next.js, so I definitely needed a little bit of assistance with Bobby and David helped me out because it was a little foreign to me, but the workflow is pretty great, and it was really cool just being able to pull all of the content types from Zesty into the Next.js app and see it all connected that way.
Cool. So I know Parsley, it's quick, right? You can just jump in there
Hmm.
and hit save and it's done, right? So it's pretty different than Next.js. Like, do you think what you experience, like the workflow benefits you get as a developer, what do you think, you know, when is it valuable, and I don't know, would you prefer one way or the other depending on what you're doing? What do
I'm not too sure. I like both. I think you can create dynamic content with either option. Both are very useful, but it was a cool experience playing around in Next.js and looking forward to see it used in more cases with Zesty.
Cool, cool. All right, well, thank you, Stephanie. And all right, next up, I'm gonna grab Giselle. Hi, Giselle. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello. I'm Giselle. I'm the Director of Customer Success at Zesty.
Hello, Giselle. So you've been working in Zesty for many, many years, almost 5 years on the team. I think this December,
Yep.
November. Um,
Mhm.
tell. So I guess I'm going to ask a similar question I asked Stephanie, since you've had vast experience between like the two. I'd say the website building processes, right? Because you're still using the same CMS. Just off the top of your head, what did you feel like were like the pros and cons between the two setups, between Next.js or templating only in Zesty?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're very different working environments. Um, you'll want to have an understanding of relationals within the CMS to be able to, work seamlessly outside in your own environment, like we did working locally with the Next.js application. And so I would say that some practice inside of the CMS itself, kind of learning the ropes a little bit might be a good start. But once you kind of are able to get understand those concepts, applying that inside the CMS or outside on your own local environments is really easy.
Yeah. And if you were going to build, say, a new large website, which method would you take?
Oh man. Well, they both have their advantages. If you're a developer or your development team isn't really looking to learn a new templating language, then certainly working on your own environment is a huge advantage, because you're able to work off of frameworks that you're already familiar with. Um, so that would be my recommendation. I know that can be a little intimidating when we talk about, Parsley being the templating language of choice, which is a proprietary templating language for Zesty. But it is a very easy, learnable templating language. So if you are starting out as a developer, if you're maybe a junior developer or a smaller team, then that's a really great way to get started in development.
Do you think like that decision would be resource based? Like, if you knew you had a certain amount of developers, would that be part of your
Yeah,
decision making process? Like, if you knew you had one developer versus five, like we had five in this scenario, right?
right. Yeah, I mean a lot of factors would go into that decision. The big advantage that Zesty has is that there's just, no constraints into how you're able to develop. So if you are looking to sort of build maybe simpler applications, maybe simpler websites or landing pages, it might not really be necessary to have a full React application built around something like that. But if you have um, a more advanced application that you're looking to build, or maybe you're even looking to migrate your already existing React app, then there's just no need to restart that whole process.
Yeah, totally true. We have a couple people we're talking to now that have Next.js apps already running, and then the integration is very interesting because they could actually use our synchronization code and put it right into their application and get things started like almost immediately, which is really cool. Any
Yep.
anything you'd like to share about the process? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but anything that comes to mind, because it's a very different process we took.
Yeah, it is a very different process. I think it's very advantageous in that, like I said earlier, there's no limitations to building with Zesty. If you want to build from scratch or if you want to migrate an already existing application, all of the options are there. And the Next.js starter application that we have ready to go really just takes, I mean, I don't think even 2 minutes. I mean, you could probably get set up in
The,
under a minute.
yeah, it depends on your connection speed and npm's like download speed.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to have a local environment to be using Git right away. Cool. Well, thank you,
Yep,
Giselle, and
no
good
problem.
and great work on the site.
Thank
Chloe,
you.
introduce yourself and say hello.
What up? My name is Chloe. I am an account executive at Zesty. I've been with Zesty for, it'll be 7 years this summer. Um,
Nice.
so my role since I've been in Zesty so many hours of my life was to help with QA or quality assurance on the site.
And and you build a lot of POCs, right? You can
I
under
do.
mine, you can code, you can write HTML, you can write parsley, you can wrangle a WYSIWYG editor pretty damn well. So like it's a very different process, and we're out of control, right? Typically, like in Zesty, because you can do so many little things. I say little things, a vast different skill set that you have. What you were out of control in some areas. So what did that feel like, and what was the difference of your mind in this build process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. In Zesty, you almost customize the CMS as you continue to build pages and content and components. So for somebody who isn't involved in that process, I was a little nervous at first because I like to have a lot of control. No surprise there, probably to anybody. Um, but the way that it was structured, Katie and Giselle and Bobby really were took on a lot of ownership of building out that structure because Katie's going to be owning the site and managing a lot of it. So finding new content, finding areas, what's related to what, how this is being loaded on a page, what component is related to, what content or what blog article was actually pretty easy. So a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So made QA's life a lot easier to be able to find where everything was, relatively quickly.
Do you feel like yeah, it's interesting because you couldn't just jump in and edit code if you needed to. I mean, you could for like in the context of content,
Right.
but right, you couldn't go control the code, which makes the build process slower, right? If you need something done like that second, you need a developer involved. There needs to be a deployment process, commits, right, PR. So that I guess that's to be discovered how that feels because we're used to instantly deploying. Like in Zesty, you're one click away from testing in stage and another click away from publishing, right? And that's if you're just using the Zesty process. So we'll see. We'll have to check back in and see where you stand on that. Um, so while we got you too, it wasn't just a website that we released. We also released a new logo, right?
Yeah, no,
So I'm gonna pull up the new logo, and while I
my
get you
very
chatting, what's up?
yeah,
Yeah, we're all wearing old Zesty garb.
this is my first sweatshirt I ever got. So
Classic. I should have worn the super old school because we've changed our logo, I guess, 3 full times.
yeah,
It's always just been a variation of the original logo, which I think is cool.
yeah,
Um,
code brackets.
yeah, the code brackets. So let's pull this logo up and let's talk about it here. So this is the new logo that we're seeing in Illustrator. But as you can see, the new logo it has the code brackets, but it's a little bit more abstracted form, right? A little bit rounded out. And the Zesty
Randy,
word.
you'll want to swap your positions since we
Oh,
can't
okay, cool.
quite see it. There you go.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I guess we'll show it in black and white too. Yeah, so it still has the code brackets. They're in an abstracted form. The idea was to bring more energy to the logo, and that we're stepping away from. Originally, it was just code brackets, and we're kind of moving towards a world where there'll be less coding involved. Even though in this project we did 10,000 plus lines of code, there'll still always be code involved, but we want to step into a world where we're empowering more of the build. So where Chloe, where you lost, say, some of the power that you were able to just go in and code by yourself, be able to gain that power back through interfaces that allow you to move things around. And those are coming in the works. So the idea of changing the logo is to make it more approachable and friendly, but still pay homage to the original mark. And the Zesty words here, it's actually still in the same typeface, but the typeface has been just modified a bit and rounded. So it's the same exact typeface, just with rounded edges and a little bit different treatment to like some of the ascenders and descenders, and making it connection and making it flow all through each other. So we could take a look at it.
And Ryan on YouTube is letting us know that the new logo looks killer dope.
Awesome. Let's see.
Ryan,
Thanks, Ryan McDermott. Those are really great words. But yeah, so it's the new logo, a little bit more friendly and fun. So we'll be printing some new T-shirts, and I think the goal was to give away a sweatshirt here to somebody in chat. When we had 30 concurrent viewers, I should have done that early in the beginning, but we were just focused on the launch. But yeah, let's see. We got 14 concurrent viewers now, so I guess in chat, if you just post up, I don't know how to do it. There's like a random thing, and there's a random chat thing. I wasn't really prepared for that, but if you're in chat, throw a chat out, type chat the word sweatshirt, and if there's just one, there'll be one winner, but if there's multiples, we'll do some sort of raffle, and we'll reach out to you to send you a sweatshirt. So Chloe, you ready to print this logo on a bunch of new clothes? He wants.
heck yeah.
Well, what's Patagonia jackets he wants? What what's the brand that you liked? Katie was into like
Vory.
Vory. Yeah, those are pretty sweet too. We'll see. He wants a Patagonia jacket. Yeah, we'll see if we can make that happen.
Definitely miss the old Zesty, like California. I called them California sweatshirts because they were like hoodies, but they're so light.
Yeah, just like light hoodies. Those are super cool. And we could print those again too. They're super soft. All mine are very pilly now, from
Like
being
10
worn
years
too many times. So then, so Chloe, I guess you ready to put this? Oh, we'll show you a fun version, Chloe. Right? We made this. I mean, how fun is this little Zesty fun logo?
Long
Yeah,
sleeve.
this is your yeah, the fun version. And when you go to your raves or your festivals, this will be the Zesty version of the shirt that you wear without. Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
But we'll be sure to have some fun with it too. Wanted to make sure it wasn't so just just a standard mark. There's some Zesty oranges for you. Cool. So last person I'm gonna bring up, I think, is gonna be Bobby. So Bobby, let's step right up. Say hi, Bobby, and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Bobby. I'm a technical support engineer with Zesty.
And one of the core developers of the website.
Yes.
So Bobby does a lot of training and builds a lot of docs, right? And everything's been kind of focused around, I'd say a lot of it's the templating within Parsley, templating within the native Zesty language. So Bobby, now we're opening up a new world into not just Next.js. We'll be able to go into Vue, which is Nuxt, right? So we'll be able to, with the way this is set up, we're going to start incorporating this automatic resolution of content into any of these application frameworks. What do you think? How do you feel like that changes, I don't know, support and how people will build and work in Zesty?
I think the way that the Explorer JSON object actually brings in the content when you're using Next.js has so many similarities to what you're using when you're using Parsley, because you're still using the same reference name, that if you're making a transition from one to the other, it's got a nice flow to it. And because you have that JSON object available to you inside the Next.js, it makes it easy to understand where you're pulling the content in from. I think that creates a lot of versatility so that you can see the differences between the two different areas.
That's interesting. So your standpoint on it is that, let me get up my, I'm going to pull up and show the Zesty Explorer object as you chat. Just a moment. And this should load over here now. But yeah, it's really interesting that it's the idea that it's about referencing, right? And I didn't really consider that. So you think it's like teaching the idea of referencing, and that the Explorer object might make it easier? Is that kind of...
Yes,
Yeah.
and in the fact that when you're writing Parsley, you're still using the same reference name. So you have that connection between the two. You can see how your object, when you're developing in Next.js, is going to have the similar reference names that you're going to be using if you're in Parsley. So I think if you're making a transition from one way or the other, you have that connection between the two, and you're not losing your place in how you're going to be grabbing your content.
Right. So what Bobby's speaking to is part of our Next.js integration. We have the Zesty Explorer. I guess it's a component, but it's a feature that overlays over the production, or while you're producing and editing, you're able to see this. So both marketers and developers can leverage this tool. And right now it's pretty developery. We're going to continue pushing this and making it more friendly and interactive. But what Bobby's showing you is that, or speaking to, is that it references exactly what you need. So content.title, and if we were to go, look at the code. Let's just pull up homepage. So we're looking at React code here, which is JavaScript. But you can see like right here, it's just referenced by content.title. And when you're over in the Explorer, you can see content.title is right there. So we're going to be pushing this to make it even clearer. So it's maybe cuts down even like quicker for support. But the Explorer also tells you your browsing homepage, which is the name of the model, which is the name of the item from the homepage model. And from here, you can click to open the Zesty Manager, right to edit the homepage. So this context is delivered to both the marketer and the developer to understand the connection between the pages, whereas when you're building headlessly, you're often lost, right? You don't know exactly where things are coming from, what's connected. So that was a big change. I feel like it's a very different approach that we took, and it's a good point, Bobby. That might make it easier to explain. And we've already found in demos that we've demoed this now for 2 weeks. We started demoing this integration as we were building it, and the feedback was kind of huge how quickly people figured it out in comparison to, say, Parsley directly. But yeah, cool. So you're excited so now anyone can contribute to this Zesty Explorer too, Bobby. So if you have ideas, you can just go ahead and code it right in. I know Darwin is also here, who worked on it pretty directly. I think Darwin's here, but yeah, he worked on that pretty directly. So how would you feel like in comparison to other projects you've worked on? What are your thoughts around Next.js and React versus other build types you've worked with?
I liked it. It had a nice flow to it. The file structure was very similar to a regular just React app, so it was easy to navigate with throughout. Being able to pipe in your model names directly into the Next.js is fantastic, because if you know your schemas that you already have saved with inside the CMS, it just makes for easy navigation and finding where you're supposed to be going to, what you're looking to edit, and then you have the object directly in there so you can see it while you have your local host open. Just having those features available at your fingertips, I feel like makes it so much smoother when you're coding headlessly, as opposed to you have the footer bucket when you're inside the CMS. So you have those easy access tools right there inside our manager. So having that in both places, I really think ties everything together.
Yeah, so what Bobby's speaking to is I'm on this page Solutions, and the name is Digital Experience Solutions, but I still don't know where I am. So if I click Explorer, I'm going to see your browsing item solutions in platform overview. And now I know underneath Zesty Views, I can load up platform overview over here. And this is where I'm working. And that's what Bobby's speaking to, is that as the developer, by looking at this model, there's a direct associated file where you edit the view. And we can just demonstrate that right here with an h1 hello world. There it is, beautiful. Let's ship it, send it live. It's also nice is this is all in a local environment. So we have some Zesty builds where there's 1.6 gigabytes of historic file changes saved into the database, which is huge. But when you're using Git, all that is stored within a diff that is stored in a different style repository, which is also interesting. So thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
All right, so let's see. We have I got TJ McCash. We have some of the developers in the mix, but they aren't directly involved in the process. We're missing Todd. I was going to bring Todd into the mix, but we don't have him here today, so I'll have to capture him another time. But yeah, with that, I'm gonna conclude the live session. Thank you everybody who is involved in the process. Awesome job. I think launching a website in under a month that is enterprise grade is not an easy thing to do. And it helps to have good tools, that's for sure. And
it is with Zesty.
And a kick-ass team too. So awesome work, everybody. Very excited. Now we're going to go into phase 2 of the website, which is going to be expanding content and making forms really cool and dynamic. So take care and cheers, everybody. Congrats on the launch.
Bye, everyone.